What's up, traders? So today I'm going to show you how you can keep more of the money that you make from trading by utilizing the correct entity structure, which will allow you to give a lot less to the IRS. Because we all know it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. But if you're new to the channel, my name is Rashad. I am a full-time options trader, and I bring in multiple six figures a year from the stock market, and I use the money that I make from the stock market in order to pay for my entire lifestyle. Now, before we get started, please take a moment just to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And do remember that I am not a financial advisor or an accountant or an attorney. So this is not financial, legal, or tax advice. You should make sure to run anything you do past your local professionals. But with that, let's get started. Now, I do want to preference this video by saying that this video is more so for the people who have a tax problem. And you have a tax problem from making too much money. All right, so if you make too much money from the stock market, then this video is for you. And I'm going to show you how I've gone about structuring my entities that has allowed me to write off a ton of my expenses against my trading income that I would not be able to do otherwise. However, if that's not you, if you are not making a ton of money from the stock market, then I would like to invite you to the Trader Freedom community. Within this community, not only will you get to see my exact trades as I enter them, but you'll also get my entire options framework from A to Z via the Trader Freedom course. You'll get full access to ask me questions at any given time. And then lastly, you'll be within a community of other traders that all have the exact same goal as you. And we have strategies ranging from 0 DTE for our day traders all the way up to monthly income strategies for our people who are much more busy and do not have the time to look at the market all day. So no matter where you're at in your journey, if you're absolutely new to options or you're very experienced with options, you just have not been making as much as you think you could, I will show you how I do things within the Trader Freedom community. And the link is in the description below. So go ahead and click it or send it to somebody who would like to learn how to make more money from the stock market. But with that being said, let's get started. All right, trading as an LLC. Now, as far as benefits, trading under an LLC has two main benefits, and it's one, asset protection, and two, to reduce your tax bill. And throughout this video, I will show you the proper way to do both. Because what is the point of stacking a bunch of gains throughout the years, and while at the same time reducing your tax bill, if someone were to come along and sue you and possibly get access to all the money that you worked hard to get. So we will discuss both of these items throughout this video. However, let me give you a quick note about taxes. When it comes to taxes, the US government gives benefits to two different types of people, and that is business owners and real estate owners. And what you have to understand is that the tax code is just an incentive-based program. There are things that the US government wants you to do, and if you do it, they will give you a tax cut. All right, it's no different than your kindergarten teacher giving you a sticker for doing something that she wants you to do. The US government has things that they need and want us to do as US citizens, so they incentivize those that do what they want to happen. And the first thing that they want is maximum employment. And the reason they want maximum employment is because that helps the US economy. As long as you have a job and you are out making money, well, when you're making money, you're probably also spending money. And when you are spending money with a multitude of different US companies, that is helping the US economy. So what does the IRS do? They incentivize the people that can employ others, which are business owners. So because of that, there are a bajillion different tax write-offs for people who own businesses. And we will be taking advantage of that. And then the second type of people that they give tax benefits to are real estate owners. Because another thing that the US government wants is affordable housing for everyone. And the only ones who can provide housing are people who own real estate. All right, so if you want tax benefits, you have to be either a business owner or a real estate owner, or preferably both. But let's go ahead and dive deeper into the strategy. So when it comes to trading, you may have heard about electing for the trader tax status and the mark-to-market election. And a lot of people seek this route because it will allow them to write off any losses that they have in the stock market against their regular W-2 income. But let me tell you why that is not the best route to go. The first thing is there is no such thing as a trader tax status. There is no document that you fill out for the IRS that gives you a trader tax status. The only document that you could fill out is the mark-to-market election. And let me show you why that is not a great idea. So mark-to-market is a tax election letting qualified, and I do want to emphasize qualified, traders treat year-end holdings as sold at market value, turning capital gains or losses into ordinary income or losses. So what happens when you select a mark-to-market election? If you are up on a position at the end of the year, so December 31st, for tax purposes, you'll be treated as if you sold those positions on December 31st. So however much you made throughout the year, through December 31st, you will be taxed on that amount. Whereas regularly, you're only taxed on realized gains. So after you've closed the position. And unfortunately, what could happen is on December 31st, maybe you were up $1,000 on a trade. And so you're going to be taxed on that $1,000. However, over the next few weeks, in the beginning of January, the trade goes the opposite way and say you're now down $500. Well, although you've actually lost on that trade, you still have to pay the tax on that $1,000 that you were up on December 31st. And that's where it doesn't make much sense at all. However, most people file the mark-to-market election because they want to be able to write off any losses against their regular income. Because the tax code says you can only write off $3,000 per year if you were to lose money. And so people file the mark-to-market election because they want to be able to write off more than $3,000 if they were to lose money. However, here's the thing, and I hope that this doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, but if you're expecting to lose money, then you should probably do something else. And I mean that with total love. But if you have not developed a strategy that can create reliable and consistent income month in and month out, then you should just continue to paper trade until you have and focus on your 9 to 5 because there's a lot less risk with the 9 to 5. And so that's why I don't like the mark-to-market election, because on one end, you can be hurt from making money. And then on the second end, I have to expect to lose money in order to even file the election. Because the thing with the mark-to-market election is it has to be filed early on the year prior. So I would have already needed to file this in 2025 in order to get the mark-to-market election in 2026. So in my head, I'd have to go, I think I'm going to probably lose money in the market in 2026. So let me go ahead and file this now. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. Because if you think you're going to be losing money, you should probably be doing something else. But if you are losing money, that's even more of a reason to come join the Trader Freedom community. But let's move on. And here is another reason why I don't like the mark-to-market election. Because it would need to pass the sniff test with the IRS. And so unfortunately, as of currently, the IRS doesn't have any set standards that say if you do this, then you have a trader business. And so because of that, the IRS can often look at people who make this election with a magnifying glass. Because they're like, they made this mark-to-market election so that they can write off any losses just like a regular business would do. However, do they have enough activity trading to show that they actually have a trader business? And so there are no set standards by the IRS as of yet. However, looking at past court cases, you can kind of get an idea of what the IRS would want. And here it is here. All right, first thing, do you have over 800 trades per year? And if you do not have this, you would probably not be considered to have a trader business because you're not that active. Now, if you're trading things like options, then when you open a trade and when you close the trade are considered two separate trades. So a full cycle is actually 2 trades in one. So that would be 400 full trades. So this would technically be 400 full trades, but that would be you physically opening up a trade and closing a trade. So if you just typically allow your contracts to expire worthless, then that is not considered a trade. You would have to actually physically open it up and close it. All right, but 800 trades per year. And your trades need to be on average less than 30 days in duration. So for my people out there that mainly do leaps, this is not for you. Your trades need to be less than 30 days in duration. Because if they are not, then they look at you as more of an investor than a trader. All right, thirdly, are you trading a significant amount of money? And are you bringing home a high percentage of your total income from trading? It really needs to be significant. And then lastly, are you trading at least 75% of the time that the market is open? So there are court cases where people traded half of the year and they made a ton of money, but then they took the rest of the year off and the IRS determined that they do not have a trader business. Also cases where traders traded millions of dollars. However, they only had a few hundred trades for the year and the IRS determined that they did not have a trader business. But selecting the mark-to-market election is a great way to put a nice big red target on your back and to cause the IRS to look at you a little bit more closely than they do other people. And that is another reason that I do not like the mark-to-market election. So now let's discuss the benefits of a trading LLC. So when it comes to asset protection, a LLC can shield your home, savings, and personal property from business-related lawsuits or debts. And essentially, this entity will separate you from your trading business because people will sue for crazy things these days. And so in this case, if you're trading under an LLC, if you have kids or you have a son and one of your son's friends comes over and jumps on the trampoline and somehow breaks a bone while doing so, and their parents get upset and decide to sue you, well, in that case, your trading account and all the money you have inside of it is totally separate from you. So if they somehow win the lawsuit, the money that's within your trading account is not at risk. And generally, there are 3 different states that have the strongest LLC protections. And those 3 states are Wyoming, Delaware, and Nevada. Now, out of these 3 states, Wyoming is my favorite one to use. And let me show you why that is. They have very, very strong asset protection because creditors cannot access the LLC's assets. They can only do what's called a charging order. And so in certain states, let's use the example that you own real estate and somebody sues you or your business in certain states. If they were to win the lawsuit, they could force you to sell the property in order to pay. However, in Wyoming, they don't get access to any of the assets at all. Only thing they can do is put in a charging order, which is essentially a lien against any future distributions made from the company to the person in the lawsuit. So essentially it's saying, hey, if you pay yourself out of the Trading LLC in the future, we are owed money. But here's the thing. If you know you have a charging order against you, why would you ever pay yourself? You see where I'm getting? You probably wouldn't pay yourself if you needed money out of it. You would probably do something different, like pay somebody close to you, whether it be a parent, whether it be a kid, and you guys work that out between y'all two, or do something like a security backed line of credit against your account. But needless to say, if you have a charging order against you, you're probably going to be smart enough to not pay yourself. And so when opposing attorneys find out that your business is held within Wyoming, normally it kind of acts like a deterrent, because oftentimes there's not much point of going on with the lawsuit and taking it to trial if you know there's a very, very, very slim chance that you ever receive a payout. So normally in those scenarios, the opposing attorney will just take like whatever money they can get from your insurance. But the good thing about trading is it's a non-risk activity. And so there's not really much that somebody would be suing your trading company for. Like, what can they say? They came over your house and slipped on a stock certificate. Like, there's not really much that they can sue a trading company for. All right. But strong asset protection is the #1 reason. And then 2, there is no state income tax in Wyoming. All right. So that is self-explanatory. And then 3 is there is high privacy levels in Wyoming. So for a lot of states, if you go to the Secretary of State website and you just type in somebody's name, if they own businesses, they will pop up on the list and it will show you their business and everything. However, in Wyoming, there is no public member disclosure. So strong asset protection, no income tax, and high privacy. And those are the 3 main reasons that I like Wyoming the best. So that wraps things up as far as asset protection. But now let's start to talk about how to save with our taxes. Now, the tax issue with creating trading LLCs is we don't have very many expenses. Like if you think about it, what do you need to trade? You need an internet connection. So you could probably write off your internet package. You can probably write off your subscription to different trading services. But for the most part, those are the only 2 continuing expenses. Now, maybe you buy some new computers or laptops to trade. However, that's a one-time thing. And if you're making really good money out of the stock market, then those expenses probably aren't going to cut into much. So what is the best structure to maximize tax benefits and asset protection at the same time? Well, let's take a look. When we file our trading LLC, we will make it a partnership. And this partnership will be based in Wyoming, which is my favorite. However, Delaware and Nevada have great protections for business owners as well. But let's say we are doing our trading LLC in Wyoming and it will be a partnership. All right, but who are the 2 partners? Well, one will be your family management company. You will file this management company in your home state and it will be filed as a C Corp or an LLC taxed as a C Corp. And this C Corp will own 20% of your trading LLC. And obviously, because this is a management company, your management company will manage your trading LLC. And then it can also manage any other entities that you have, or if you're currently doing side gigs, but you haven't registered it as a business yet. Let's say you're doing photography or you're doing some drop shipping. Well, now you can do all of that out of your management company. And now that you have a management company would have all the expenses that a management company would have. But more on that in just a second. And then, of course, our second partner for our trading company, our trading partnership, will be none other than you. You will own the other 80% of your trading LLC. All right. So trading LLC, which is filed as a partnership in Wyoming, that you own 80% of, and then your management company owns the other 20%. Now that we have all of that set up, what we need to do is get money from our trading LLC up to our management company. And how we will do that is what's called a guaranteed payment to partner. Once you have a partnership in place, you can establish a guaranteed payment to partner. Now, this could be whatever amount you set. However, it needs to be set up front. And for the IRS, it needs to be well documented. And with a guaranteed payment to partner, that guaranteed payment becomes an expense for your trading LLC, and then it becomes income for your management LLC, whom is receiving the payment. And then what we will do later is we will write off our expenses for the management company, offsetting the income that the management company received. Now, let's backtrack a little bit. The guaranteed payment to partner is exactly how it says, guaranteed. So whatever amount you set, that is the money that your trading LLC will need to pay the management company every single year, whether the trading LLC is profitable or it's not. So let's say you set your guaranteed payment to partner to be $50,000. Well, one, you want to make sure you have the type of profits where paying a partner $50,000 actually makes sense. And two, just know that she'll need to pay the partner $50,000 per year, no matter how much you make in the trading LLC. So this is a set amount that is set right at the beginning. So if you make $100,000 next year trading and you had your guaranteed payment to partner set at $50,000, then your trading LLC needs to pay your management company $50,000. And the same works in reverse. If you, for some reason, only make $40,000, well, your trading LLC still needs to pay your management company $50,000. So it is a guaranteed payment to partner. But whatever amounts you select, it needs to be set up front. And how I personally did it, because I knew I was going to continue to make more and more and more every single year, is I set my payment to partner to increase every year for the first 5 years. And then from that 5th year on, the amount stays the same. Plus, it pays my management company a 10% management fee on top of the guaranteed payment to partner. Now, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do the guaranteed payment to partner because I don't know how much I'll make every single year, then you could just do it the simple route. You could just allow your trading LLC to pay the management company whatever percentage of the ownership that it has. So in this case, since it owns 20%, 20% of the net profits from the trading LLC will just naturally flow to the management company. However, I believe that the guaranteed payment to partner is much more advantageous, especially if you make a ton of money. All right, but now that we have that guaranteed payment to partner in place, now we need to be able to write off the expenses from the management company. Now, yes, you could just use the expenses that a management company would typically have. However, we can take it a step further because since we have a C Corp, we can use what is called an accountable plan. Now, an accountable plan is also documentation that you need to have set up front as soon as you make your management company. Now, what an accountable plan does is it allows its C Corp to reimburse the owner for certain expenses. And when the C Corp reimburses the owner, it becomes an expense for the C Corp, in this case, the management company, and the money that the owner receives, in this case, you, because it is a reimbursement, it is not considered income. And with an accountable plan, there are a ton of just living expenses that you as just a human being can receive reimbursements from your C Corp back to you. And let me show you a general list. So here are a few reimbursable expenses under a C Corp accountable plan. And one is with a medical reimbursement plan, your management company can reimburse you for all your health insurance premiums for both you and your family and the co-pays as well. So that is a big one. And that goes for vision and dental insurance as well. So these are expenses that you're going to have anyway that don't really pertain to you running your business. However, because you have the accountable plan in place, your management company can reimburse you for the expenses that you paid. So you would just go ahead and pay all your premiums as normal, but then your management company can reimburse you. And when it reimburses you, it goes down as an expense and the money you get is non-taxable. All right, you can use certain retirement plan contributions. So a solo 401k is a great item to use if you are not working or you are not employed. Then we can use what's called the Augusta rule. So the Augusta rule allows you as a homeowner to rent out your home to your corporation for up to 14 days every single year. And when your corporation rents out your home, your corporation would pay you for renting out your home. And when it does that, it's an expense for the business. And the money that you receive is non-taxable, all the way up to 14 days every calendar year. And now the question goes, well, why would my management company need to rent out my home? And there could be a multitude of reasons. However, the easiest one is to have meetings in. It's just instead of renting out a venue or renting out a meeting place at a hotel, instead of using those other items, your company is using your home. And your next question is probably, well, how much do I charge my management company? Well, that is where you can do a little bit of research by either one, using websites like Airbnb and seeing how much houses of a similar size and price are going for currently, or you can do things like call nearby hotels and see how much they charge for a meeting room for an entire day. And so prices will differ. However, most people that use this strategy usually write off anywhere between $500 to $1,500 per night. Now, a key to doing this would be to do it on times where your city or your town has things going on that would raise hotel prices. So you would want to have your meetings on days where your city has huge sporting events, maybe a huge concert, maybe a big festival, but just look up what your city has planned for the coming months and have your meetings on those days where prices would be higher. Now, you do want to have an actual meeting, and it does need to be documented through meeting minutes. So make sure that you have meeting minutes for every single meeting that you have. All right, but it doesn't just have to be a meeting. It could be a training. It could be a company party. Any reason that you think of for a company to rent out a venue, your corporation can rent out your home. And all of this is made possible by the IRS Section Code 280A, which is typically referred to as the Augusta Rule. So next on our list is our home office. So if you've turned a room or an area within your home into an office, you can take the home office deduction, and your C Corp can reimburse you for doing so. For example, this studio here that I'm using is inside of my house. And so I can deduct a percentage of my home's expenses due to having this home office. And some of those expenses include rent, utilities, internet, property taxes, insurance, and depreciation. And there's a few different ways to calculate what percentage you should use. So one is the simple way is to use the square footage of the area that you're using compared to the total square footage of your entire home. Or you can just use the room method. So for an example, if you have 4 rooms in your house and you've turned one of them into a full-time office, then 1 out of 4 would be 25%. Then you will be able to deduct 25% of all of these expenses for the entire year. So the home office is a big one. And then next you have your phone, which is self-explanatory. And a lot of these expenses towards the end, you'd be able to deduct if you had a C Corp by itself. So the accountable plan doesn't really matter for some of these expenses. But if you're going to go through all this work to make this structure, why not make sure that you can write off as much as possible? All right, so next is vehicle expenses, whether you're using mileage or actual costs. So for me, my management company also manages my real estate properties as well. So I get a good amount of mileage from that. And then you have traveling, events and seminars, 50% of business meals, office supplies and equipment, software and subscriptions, business education and training, shipping and postage, legal, tax, and professional services. So those are all expenses that you can now write off that you would not be able to write off if you just had a trading LLC by itself. So that is the power in creating this structure. And by doing this, you can literally create 5 to 7 figures in deductions. So if you are making good money, this is a no-brainer. But if you're still at the level where you're just making about a few $1,000s per year, it's probably not worth it just yet to go through all of this and creating this structure. However, when you start to see your profits increase, then it's time to take it to the next level. And on top of all of those benefits and all of those deductions that we just listed off that you can now use because of the structure that you have set up, on top of all of that, C Corps and partnerships are one of the least audited structures for the IRS. Sole proprietorships are audited roughly 800% more than C Corps and partnerships. So we already took that target off of our back by not electing for the mark-to-market election. And then we took another target off of our back by having C Corps and partnerships that are audited way less than 1% of the time. So that is another plus for this structure. But in review, let's check it out. So we are going to file for a trading LLC that will be a partnership, likely in the state of Wyoming. And then we will own 80% of it, and we will open a family management company that will own the other 20% of it. That will be an LLC filing as a C Corp. And we will have documentation setting the guarantee payment to partner from our trading LLC to our management company, which will serve as an expense for the trading LLC, and it will be income for the C Corp. And at the C Corp level, everything is taxed at a flat rate of 21%. So we definitely want to use our expenses to get the money from out of our C Corp. And we will do that using an accountable plan where we can reimburse ourselves as the owner for a ton of expenses that we would have anyway. All right, so that is how I would set it up. Now, if you are a member of the Trade Freedom community, within the course, I have provided information to the company that I used in order to set up my structure for me. So not only will they set up this structure for you, but also they will create all of the documentation that you need for the guarantee payment to partner and your operating agreement, which would have your accountable plan within it. So if you are a part of the Trade to Freedom community, that information is within the course. However, if you are not part of the community and you would like to get access to that information, or you would just simply like to generate consistent and reliable income from the cash that you already have, then click the link below. Come join the community. We have trading strategies all the way from 0 DTE for our day traders, all the way up to monthly income strategies for our 9-to-5 workers, for our business owners, our professionals, and our retirees. Click the link below in the description. It is time to transform your finances. I'm wishing you all the best. God bless you. And I hope you have nothing but growth all this year and beyond. But I'll see you guys on the next one.